evening. Back, why are you late? Or he said gay GZR. Fair enough, fair enough. Oops, sorry about that. Because yeah, it's been a little bit of a time. It's been very, very hot in Germany, and I just have better things to do. But now we're here. Sorry for the absence. I am back. At the Friday show, like any of the Friday shows, not my fault. You can send the blame to Cred, because he's been flaking on me every single Friday. For God's sake, don't get us out of this range, for God's sake. I mean, I don't know what to do, dude. I don't know what to do. But we'll talk about it. Did you enjoy your vacation? Somewhat, yeah. It's a little bit, for me it's too hot. I don't do so well with heat. I do better with cold, but I'm dangerously excited for Don. I mean, then look at the market and then you can be less excited. That's gonna calm you down real quick. Don, are we still going to 80K? Good question. We'll talk about it. For now, technically, nothing's broken, nothing's bad, everything's all good. It's pretty much the exact same price, I think, where we streamed last time, just on the other side. Like, I think I talked with you guys at 63K-ish, or 64. Now we went up and came back down. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But before we do, big shout out to Wu for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description. Go check them out. They've been amazing partners. And they've recently actually been asking us for insights on cool products that people would like to trade. So if you have any cool ideas, anything out of the ordinary that other exchanges might not have, let us know. I mean, we have a lot. It's just always the question of whether it's whether it's legal or not. But they have asked us for our input and our help with working on that stuff. So that's quite cool. Don, are you respectful like Capo or what? Always respectful, man. You gotta respect. If you don't respect, you're in trouble. Don, sir, I'm scared. There's no need to be scared. It's still okay. But yeah, we'll run through Bitcoin. I might be able to go through ETH and Solana, but I think that's it because it's very late here and I need to get to bed. But the monthly is still whatever, garbage in the middle of nowhere. The weekly is really, really interesting. Here we had a range reclaim, right? This was the trigger to be bullish. 60K reclaimed. It kind of did it a little bit in a weird way, but still it did it. And then it went all the way back to the top of the range actually, and now is getting rejected. And the long trigger, right? The bullishness that you should have from the range reclaim, right? The 60K reclaim is technically still in play, right? And did I turn this red just a second ago like an idiot? Man, sometimes it's too late for me. Anyway, that is still in play in my opinion, unless we lose 63K. So 63K I think is the pivot. If that gets lost, I think it starts looking dangerous. But until it is lost, all is good in the world, right? Like, this is still a bullish range until we lose 63K. If we lose 63K, maybe we retest the lower supports. I don't know. We'll see. But until that happens, doesn't really make much sense to talk about it. Okay. It is kind of funny that we got rejected by the one resistance that I called Cope made up resistance, but it is what it is. It just is what it is. Nothing we can do about it. Don, sir, should I start applying to McDonald's cashier jobs? The market looks cooked. I think the reason why the market looks so fucked to people is because the altcoins just ain't it. Like, the altcoins just been nuking. So yeah. Oh, fiance, my wife actually. My wife just sent me a message, just baby screaming all the time, not sleeping. So we're gonna have to cut this one short at some point. I'm still gonna do like a couple minutes, but yeah, baby's screaming and I'm the sleep master, so I might have to take care of it. But for now, we roll. So yeah, 63K, that needs to hold. And if it doesn't, it's kind of fucked. But as long as it does, we're all good. So it's going to be an interesting weekly close. On the daily side of things, that one is not as pretty. We're kind of retesting 65K again, 65.5, that support level, after having tested the resistance. But still, we have like this confluence support at 62, 63K, right? So not all is lost on this front too, even if this goes like a little bit further. You could have like the high time frame range looks like this right now, and you have like a low time frame range here. And if it goes down here and comes back up, maybe you get double setup, right? So a range reclaim here, range reclaim there. That wouldn't be too bad. So yeah, that's kind of like, that's pretty much it on the TA side of things. My gut feeling is that the market is just shit. Like no one wants to trade right now. People are kind of like afraid of taking positional risk, just because it's pretty much a toss-up between Trump and Kamala Harris, I think, politically wise. And then people are just like, oh, let's wait till that kind of plays out to see where the crypto space is going, because Trump is at least saying he's very positive crypto, and Harris has said similar things but acted very, very differently. So I think people are just a little bit scared to take proper positions. Don, would you say your judgment is more biased when you're trading versus not having a position? Yeah. If I'm trading, I'm always a little bit more biased. It's just something that comes with the game. As a recent father, I resonate with being the sleep master. Yeah, I mean, yesterday she fell asleep on me, actually, which is quite cute. She usually doesn't like to cuddle that much, but with me she does. Mommy doesn't get much of that. Would you bid 63K again, Don? So I mean, I like the last time we traded down here, right? I was like, oh, we're approaching weekly support, or like we hit weekly support. But I mean, I'm not buying. The reason why I'm not buying is just because I don't find this particularly interesting, right? Like the only way you get me to properly trade this market again with size would be like major moves, and this is not it. But generally, I think like if we get a close at 63K, that's still worth a shot. Like if this week closes at 63 and you get a daily washout towards like 61, and there's some bullishness in this block down here, I mean, that's the last chance to be properly bullish, right? So I'm not hating on that. Which trades did you take in the last days? I've just been hedging. If you're talking about the Woo account, it's just me hedging, because I've been withdrawing money out of the market, because I'm retiring, and I still have I still had a bunch of money on Woo, so I've just been using it to hedge some of the positions that I wanna be hedged for while I'm unwinding everything. It's nothing directional. I mean, it is directional, but it's hedging, so it doesn't really matter. We could hit 59, 60K, but still get a good weekly close. I think that'd be too low. I think 61. Like if you're planning for a big washout and then still a good weekly close, I think 61 is as low as you want it to go. If it goes to 60 or 59, like down here, I think it's a little bit fucked. I don't think you would get a good weekly close. Or do you mean like we could even close at 60K and that'd be good? Because I honestly, I wouldn't want to close below 63K. I think that's a little bit scary. Retiring for good, never going to trade again, or just taking big break and trading here and there? I mean, I'm retiring in the sense that I will come back like once or twice every like 4 or 5 years, I think. Like to take a big trade. Like not even a big trade, but just like a big swing trade where I'm like entering a position and then planning on selling it like a year later or something. As in like retiring from active trading. And then I might still do like a little bit of position in place like down the line, but nothing major. It seems like you trade based on TA, but also heavy on fundamental / sentiment analysis. How would you describe your style? It's sentiment with coupled with TA, yeah. So basically, I mean, I'm just I have a good feeling for the market, and when the market is in an area of interest, right, and those I find with TA, right, like I'm like 63K is an area of interest. If sentiment is particularly particularly strong in one way or the other at that point of interest, and I find a way how to define risk at that level, then I will take a trade, right? So it is both fundamental, not so much, because I don't think there's much fundamental analysis to do in crypto. I think most of it, like the fundamental stuff that you can do, is mostly faked. Like all the like, oh yeah, this network is being used that much and all that kind of stuff is mostly just wash trading and like pushing coins back and forth. Like it's not real data. So like fundamental, you don't get that much, I think. It's at least not something that I'm good at. But sentiment and TA, I couple kind of, and then use that to help me out. You think being rusty is a thing in trading though, if gone too long? If you're trading low time frames, yeah, but if you're taking a trade, like if let's say Bitcoin breaks down and like nukes 60, 70, 80%, and you just check the market and the sentiment, and you're like, oh yeah, sentiment is really fucking bearish, and people are talking about the death of crypto again, you don't need to be like super sharp. It's just, if anything, you're probably gonna trade better coming from like with an outsider perspective rather than being stuck in the low time frames, right? You look at this thing and you're like, oh shit, this is trading like back when I was like looking at this thing, like there's something I'm good at generally, but when you zoom out and you're like, oh holy shit, like it's trading at 3-4K down here, that seems awfully cheap. And like people were like you look at this and you zoomed out and you're like, I mean, that's not that bad of a chart, right? Like if you, I mean, we can do it like this. Like that's not bad of a chart, but people were super fucking bearish. The reason why is because if you're doing this, you're like, holy shit, I mean, it's just fucking bad. But when you zoom out a little bit and you're like, this thing has just gone up year after year after year after year, it's a little bit easier to kind of take that trade. So I don't think you need to be particularly trading savvy to take those trades. You just have to have the balls to hold them. Have you tried the Misty Mountain song from the Hobbit movie to stop the baby from crying? It's supposed to be magic. Nah, I mean, I like if I wanted to stop crying, I just go there and then just like cuddle her a little bit, and then she's more than happy. So I don't need to do anything. It's just my wife has to do more work. I mean, she's trying to sleep basically, and if the baby wakes up every 10 minutes, it's a little bit fucked. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. I think it's pretty straightforward. The low time frame's obviously not that great. The daily time frame kind of breaking down right now. But like I said, I think there's a really good support down here. And if it reclaims 65.3 before the daily close today, maybe there's something to be done there. But generally, I like the Confluent weekly and daily support. Like if you're going to take a trade, I think that's where you're going to take the trade. If both of those fail, I think then we're going to go and actually just fall down. Problem is, obviously, and I think this is what's going to come up in the next couple of days on CT and everywhere, that we have made we have made consecutive lower highs, and we made obviously a lower low. So technically this is trending down, but yeah, like I said, as long as 63k is in there, we're good. Does retiring mean just living off the money you've earned or starting new businesses? If so, what are the things you do to earn new money, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I was considering going back to university just to learn something interesting, not necessarily to make money. I mean, it's always good to make money, but it's not necessarily what I need to do. When will you raise a kid to take my money in the order books? Never, man. If there's one thing that I will keep my children away from, it's for trading. I think it fucks you. It fucks your mind. I think it's very unhealthy. It's sad that it's the only real way for people like us, right, that grow up with very little, to make it. But I think it's generally unhealthy as fuck. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily want to recommend anyone to trade, but also I kind of realize the situation the entire world is in, where you can either work for like $10, $15, $20 an hour, and I mean it's worse in poorer parts of the world, or you can like do like one airdrop and do like 10 years of your salary in one go. So I mean, going back to university to undo brain rot from CT, pretty much exactly, yeah. I feel like I've used my finance part of the brain too much and everything else too little lately. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, I think it's still like my writings still apply. It's good above 63. It starts, I think, basically it's good above there, but it's terrible below. So I kind of think that can be moved now, but for now this still stands. ETH, we have an ETF. ETH USD's at support. ETH BTC garbage. I haven't looked at that in a while. How is it looking lower time frame? Not that great, not that bad. That's the worst thing. Like when you have a chart like this, it's the fucking worst. Like ETH, what do you do with this? We talked about this, and I was like, I'm not touching this because we're getting an ETF, but this kind of looks like shit. Turns out we just got a bunch of ETH outflows, and that pushed the market down. Now, like this week, like if you compare ETH to like Solana, for example, Solana is a red week right now. ETH BTC is quite green. I think that might maintain for a while. I think ETH makes like like with ETF flows, this could hold off like some of the selling, but I think it still needs to go higher to be interesting. I still want to take a trade on ETH. Like I would love to. Like it's the one coin that I actually would like to trade, but I mean, what's this chart? Like there's just nothing there. On the USD pair, it is at support, right? So there's at least something there. So if it can hold that support and Bitcoin dips into support, maybe that's interesting. But right now, I mean, it's just kind of garbage. And Solana is at a really interesting point. It is at a US dollar resistance, but it did make a new high, right? So we had a high, like a lower high close here, a lower low, but it made a new high, which is something, right? Like that makes it less scary. But it is at both ETH Sol BTC and Sol USD resistance, right? So you would expect this to kind of struggle, and it has. As long as it holds 172s, 173, I think that's still decent. If that fails, I think there's a good chance it just goes back to 135. I will still miss your posts and streams. I mean, I will do both still, at least for a while. You did a geology degree, right? Yeah, I did that before. applied geology with basically a focus on maths, physics, and all of that shit. It was basically all maths and physics. Stop soul fudding enough. I mean, I'm not fudding it. I said 172, 173. That's very close by. That's good support. That needs to hold. I mean, we're technically near support at everything, right? Like Bitcoin is near support, ETH near support or at support, so near support. Those all need to hold. If all of those fail, and I mean, if Bitcoin support fails, Solana support is gonna fail. Everything starts looking shit real fast. 20% of the ETH ETF grayscale is gone now. Outflows are smaller. Isn't it bullish? Yes, but you also need to get some buying. And for now, like relative buying, right? Because I'm not saying ETH/USD isn't gonna go up, right? Like if we're still in the there's a good chance that this goes higher mode, right? So I'm not saying ETH/USD isn't going up. I'm saying ETH/BTC is the problem, right? Like why would we want to be buying ETH over Bitcoin? And right now, there's really no technical reason. There's one in my heart, right? Like in my heart of hearts, I want to be buying ETH. But if I don't have a technical reason and sentiment isn't really that bad for me to just be like, okay, people are just completely mispositioned on ETH, it's tough, right? That makes it really tough to take a position. If all the maths, did you obsess over Hagoromo chalk? Is that the one? Is that the one that is finite? I've heard of it. People talked about it, but no, I'm generally avoiding any chalk writing if possible. My handwriting's bad enough as is, so I never go into that kind of stuff. And when I was studying back then, I was poor as fuck, so I know that chalk, if it is the chalk that you're talking about, is super fucking expensive. It's the one that all the professors in the world want to have, right? Because it's better, and then there's a finite supply of it. Don, how do you avoid feeling FOMO? By not I mean, I'm just jaded about the space. So like I look at the space, I'm like, I mean, it hasn't gone where I wanted to. So like, if the price goes up, I'm just like, okay, whatever. But if you still have faith, then obviously, if at least more faith than I do, because there's an inkling of faith left in me that this space is gonna produce great things. I actually think there's a good chance it does. Just right now, the direction is a little bit depressing. But yeah, if you have more than that, if you're quite excited about the space, obviously you're gonna get more FOMO. But the best way to prevent that is just having a position, even if you're bearish, right? And you're prone to be a FOMO person. Just always have a position. It's gonna prevent you from doing dumb shit, right? So basically, you need to find a certain size that you need to have to not feel too much FOMO. Obviously not too big, and then you always maintain that size, so you don't do dumb shit. Because what happens is, if you sell everything and the market does something like this, even if you sold much higher, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, and then you're gonna FOMO back in. But if you have a bunch, and it's even if it is from higher and it went up, you can look at it more objectively. So you just kind of have to find out the minimum allocation you have to have. For me, it's 0. It doesn't really matter, but you have to figure that out for yourself. Can 10K be turned into 100K in a few years? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good ways to turn small balances into bigger ones. The airdrop meta, all of that kind of stuff was really good. I don't think there's much in that regard right now. I think the market's pretty dead on opportunities, but I will talk about some if I come across them. We talked about ordinals earlier in the year, where I was this is we're super early into ordinals. If you actually have the the time and the willpower to turn something small into something big. Look into ordinals, and then the ordinals went up like 20, 30, 40, 50x, right? For me, it's not for me. I don't have that drive anymore, but I see those opportunities from time to time, and then I mention them. But right now, I don't see any of that. There's a few good airdrops, yeah, always, but right now, I don't think it's that interesting. Like just generally, but I'm not in the game as active as I used to be. But just generally, the market feels like very void of opportunity, and people are just in this mode where they're trying to make all their money back, because I think a lot of people are actually down bad, even though Bitcoin's trading at 65k still. So yeah. Airdrop farming is oversaturated at the moment. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's not something that I would be just blindly recommending right now. Like the whole like friend tech, for example, is something that we talked about, where I was like, you're still early to that, and that also went up a bunch. Obviously, went all the way back down again. And I mean, it's the same with ordinals, right? Like ordinals, like this is with these kind of fads, they come and go. So basically, what you do is you have a small account. You see a fad coming, like the ordinals or the social fi stuff, and then you go hard at it, and then you take money out as you go and you put it into something serious, right? Because and there's a lot of people that don't do this. For example, with the NFT mania last cycle, we had a bunch of NFTs go completely crazy. People made millions and millions, and they never cashed out, and then they fully round-tripped their NFTs, right? They're probably still up a bunch, like 10x, 100x from where they started. But it's obviously not great if you turn like 10k into 10 million back into like 50k. Like, you're happy, obviously, that you made the 5x, but it's going to be heartbreaking. So with these kind of things in crypto, what you have to do is just take money out and put it into Bitcoin or something else, and go from there, like slowly but surely. So, hi Don, do you attribute any importance to the CME gap at 58k-ish? Thank you. Not really, no. I don't look at gaps that much. I think if we go back to 58k, we're gonna go lower. Like, we're gonna go below the low that we set. There was a thread a while back of a guy who turned $50 to 6 figs on Friendtech by buying keys early. Yeah, the whole Friendtech stuff. Like, I was quite early to it as well, and my portfolio did, like, I don't know, like it wasn't that much, but I think I did, like, overall on the portfolio side of things, like just buying people. I did like a 2x or 3x, and then while I was doing that, I was farming the airdrop, and that ended up being like 6 figures, like exactly 100k, I think, that I got airdropped. I sold pretty close to the top, and that wasn't like, I didn't put much money in, and I didn't play it perfectly, and I could have played it much better, but that's like one example, right? Like, and that was one that I played just because I found it interesting. Like, I like to try it because it was fun. I pretty quickly realized that it was like a little bit of a shit show, that whole thing, but it was fun nonetheless. And that's kind of how you turn very little, even if it's just like 3 figures, right, into more, if you find a trend like this early. And then if you actually spend the time, because what people do, they look at something, they see something mentioned, and then they don't know it, but they don't look into it, because I mean, it takes effort, right, to research something, and then they see it mentioned again, and then like a month later they see it mentioned 10 times, and then you look into it, and then it's obviously quite late already. So what you have to do, like if you're trading with smaller balances in a market that is starting to turn hot, is you see something mentioned that you don't know, and you research everything about it, and then you figure out whether this has a little bit potential to catch on or not. And if it does, you really don't have to put much money in. You just have to put the effort in, right? Like, use the product, do all that kind of shit. And then oftentimes, even with little, you can do quite a bit. That's the best way to turn smaller smaller balances into bigger ones. Not like trading with 100x on leverage. Like, I think the leverage trading is way overblown. I don't think that's a good way to do it. Would you argue that we've spent so much time in this range that 40s is more likely if we break down? 50 is too dangerous. If this breaks down, I think so, yeah. I don't think I would want to. Like, if we break 63k and break the support, I think I wouldn't want to bid 50. I would want to like look at 40, 44 to 47. But like I said, as long as the support holds, no real reason to expect it. How will you keep track of sentiment if you're retiring for the occasional big swing trade if you want to take? I mean, I'll still be around. I'll still look at Twitter from time to time. Yeah, I mean, you just can tell basically. I mean, I've been in this space long enough that I know how people write when they're down bad. So yeah, I think that's that. Solana we talked about. So yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm tired, and I think the baby's asleep, but I don't want to leave my wife with it. So yeah. But yeah, I'll drag Cred to the Friday show if I have to. Like, if he doesn't show up this week, I'll just fly to him, drag him over, and we'll make it happen. And yeah, we'll see what we can do. But yeah, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Like I said, go check them out. And yeah, we'll see each other on Friday and then next Wednesday. Typical kind of stuff. Much love. Good night. Bye bye.